I'm here with QueenAline.Raw, right? That's what you is that your, but that's not your, do you want your Facebook on there?
That's okay. Yeah, I could put my Facebook. People could follow me there.
Okay. I'll just put everything somewhere in a on the screen here somewhere when I edit this.
Okay.
All right. So you had mentioned to me about addiction, and I was actually shocked about that, but not terribly because I find most people go vegan either for weight loss or if they're struggling with an addiction. So maybe do you want to talk about that a little?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm so happy to be here. First of all, thank
Yeah,
you for
this is awesome.
inviting
Yeah,
me. Thank you for inviting me to share my journey and to speak and to get to know each other better. This
yeah,
really fires me up and brings a lot of joy to me. So thank you
yeah. No
for
problem. Yeah,
being interested in
thanks for
my
coming on.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. There's a saying that always stuck with me, right? When we come to raw foods, either out of desperation or out of inspiration.
yeah,
And most of the time, it's out of desperation.
yeah,
Like 99% of the time. Oh, maybe not. Some people do come out of inspiration, but usually we come because we're so desperate. We've looked left, right, and center, and nothing's been feeling good, nothing's been working. That's how I got to this path, definitely.
yeah.
So, yeah, I was struggling with depression, anxiety, eating disorders from a very young age, anorexia, bulimia. I was in and out of treatment centers for, my eating disorder and also for drugs and alcohol. And I was just like, I went down the pharmaceutical road too. I took a lot of antidepressants, a lot of anti-anxiety, all you name it, sleeping pills. And I was, yeah, called upon this path about probably 8 years ago, really. And it took me a long time to surrender to today. However, I got the calling, 8 years ago, and there was just something in me that said, this is the way, this is the answer to what I've been praying for and asking for. I had already been plant-based for maybe 1 or 2 years before that. So, but I just thought like it was just so out of my reach. I was still eating breads, pastas, rice, beans. At the time when I started, I was like still vegetarian, so still having some eggs and cheese here and there. So it was just really hard for me to really embrace it physically, but I knew the concept on a deep soul level was, yeah, just go back to nature, eat fruits and vegetables. And I
Yeah.
believed that to be true. So yeah, my journey has just been one of letting go and surrendering and just really embracing nature, and nature allowing my body to heal itself. Yeah. So when I discovered the addictions were related to the depression that I was feeling, right? I was like
Generally,
self-medicating. Really at the base was that it was self-medication and trauma that were unresolved. So then I had to get to the root and be like, okay, well, how do I heal this depression? Oh, wait, it's coming from the gut. It's coming from, my brain is connected to my stomach. Like all of that started making sense. So that's how I got called. Yes.
I find the other group that come into vegan is the ones that are like true animal activists, but they eat so terrible that they generally end up killing the animal that they are, their self, in order to save other animals. So it's crazy to watch. I I think we've all fallen into that part of the vegan path. At least I have. That's actually because I lost probably 175 pounds now, but I was so depressed because of my job. I started and I've got like three Whole Foods within like 20 minutes of me. So I was like always passing Whole Foods and I'm like, I'll just get a muffin. It'll cheer me up. And I was when I moved back to Cleveland because I was living in Philadelphia for about a decade. When I moved back to Cleveland, I was like 225, and 225 for me because I'm a pretty big guy. Like I'm like in almost single digit body fat. I am now 280 because of how much fat and grease and everything that I was eating. And so this is what started the journey. I mean, I got my banana smoothies here.
Cheers.
Yeah,
I'm drinking too.
yeah.
Let me make
And
some.
but I the unfortunate part and fortunate part for me is it takes me forever to start losing the weight again. So that's actually the path that I'm on right now. Yeah.
I love that you say that too, because it is a journey. We're all on this journey. It's not a linear,
No.
straight line. I
No.
have, had periods where I weighed a lot, very little on this lifestyle and also before, but my weight has just fluctuated a lot my whole life until I really mastered, what it is that feels good, um, what feels right. And also, a exercise routine that's not super intense. I'll be honest, like, I walk, I do a little bit of sit up, just some maintenance stuff. I'm not like a hardcore, you got to work out all the time, but
Not either. I used to
the
lift real
exercise.
heavy. Like I was
Oh
really
yeah.
dedicated. But I don't think I could go down that path again. Speaking, I've got a rebounder behind me. Like every vegan I know has a rebounder. Do you have one?
No.
Do you know what it is?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's like you go vegan and you get a rebounder. I don't know what it is, but I've had them ever since I've been vegan. I went vegan in late 2010, early 2011, and like that was one of the first things I bought that before I even bought like like a juicer. And I got the Bellicon too, which was like $1,100 at the time. But I hated it. So that's not something that you
I mean, we could suggest it, especially when we're juice cleansing and we're having some detox symptoms. It could certainly help. I mean, it does. It's great. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't think it's necessary. I think we can move the lymph in other ways. It's really
yeah.
to move the lymphatic system and detox. It helps with symptoms, when we are detoxing and to just get ourselves more, in shape and all of that. But it's not necessary. But it's
No.
great if you use it. But
I
for
love
me, I
it.
was like,
Yeah.
one of those things that I wasn't sure if I was really gonna make the most out of. And I've been traveling around so much too, so it's not like the most convenient thing to
Yeah.
carry on a plane.
Yeah. Yeah, walking's perfect, especially if you live in a warmer climate, but you're up in Canada, right?
For now,
Yeah.
working my way back to Belize.
Yeah.
However, I'm
See, the
in
thing
the
is
cool.
like I mean, I've got 3 feet of snow out there. And it's
Yeah.
like yesterday the high was 14. I'm not I don't really feel like going for a walk in that. Even when with gloves and everything on, your fingers start splitting, and so that's kind of why I got that, because I've always lived in cold climates. And
I have
it's
a dog. I get
oh,
a
see,
dog. You don't
yeah,
have a
there you
choice.
go.
You
Yeah,
have to go out.
there you go. Yeah. So speaking of juicing, you told me you use a Kuvings.
I have a Kuvings, yes. I also use the Green Star, so we
Oh
have
man, I'm
both
so
here.
jealous. I know that's a stupid thing to be jealous about, but that thing, I've seen them and I've never actually used one, but it kind of looks like you really have to force the produce in there. Is it like a muscle workout?
It's a bit of a muscle workout, and I've had some resistance with it. But I've had the Kuvings for a while. There's pros and cons to both of them. The Green Star has like really great yield. It uses the pineapple really well, but yeah, you gotta like push it in there, and you gotta cut up the fruit a little bit smaller. But it's a great machine. It's got like twin blades, slow masticating. The Kuvings is a slow masticating as well, but it's like one big blade. But I love my Kuvings too. So yeah, there's different. The Nama is my
That,
like
that
dream.
one I dig too, the new one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I want to get that myself actually. I don't.
it's not that it's
What's
yeah.
that?
I was gonna say it's not that expensive too. I thought it was
Oh, I
actually
haven't
less
looked.
expensive than the Kuvings, and it chops up everything for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, especially if you, because I like fruit juice. I'm not really into green juices, honestly. I did. That's actually how I got started, was green juices. But I was spending like $400 a week.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, like. But I mean, I was a banker at that time, and my commissions were out of this world, and so it didn't matter. I actually had a contract with a food distributor that would come with a semi and drop everything off behind my house,
Wow.
because you had to buy everything by the case. I mean, I was 405 pounds at this time.
Wow.
And so I didn't really feel like I was dying, but the doctors were telling me I was dying. So I just wanted to get the weight off. And
That's
so I was
amazing.
juicing. I would do like 2 green juices a day and like a citrus juice.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I would have my bananas.
That's incredible. That's incredible that you had the insight to go that route,
Yeah.
that you could have gone, you were at a breaking point probably in your life where it's like, okay, I could choose to either go, the medical route and go with
Oh,
the pills, go with the doctors, or I can literally heal myself
yeah.
with the fruits and vegetables. So it's really commendable and a true inspiration to anybody who's watching, that we do heal ourselves,
Yeah.
and that's my message too, is just like we can heal ourselves of anything, nothing is impossible we are our own limitations. Our mind is our own limitations, and it takes a lot of humility to do this. Like, we
Yeah.
find our strength in our humility too, to be like, hey, listen, what I've been doing wasn't working, and I find that I find so inspiring people on this path like you, who are able to say that, I need a new way, I need to change.
Yeah.
And with those sacrifices comes great rewards. So many rewards come from making those choices. And then at the end, they don't even become sacrifices anymore. Maybe at the beginning when we're coming off of the addictions, of course, it's hard to stop smoking. It's hard to stop eating cheese. It's hard to let go of the bread. However, once you get your body cleaned and in a place of, full alignment, like, I don't want bread anymore. I was a huge bread addict. I was a huge
I'm
meat
a
addict.
baker.
I was like, you're a baker? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah. I ran a bakery for years. Yeah.
Wow.
I still bake now. I mean, I'm trying to take it slow this time because I've noticed this week, I was doing a lot of raw last week, and this week the paranoia is out of this world. I know something's coming out, so I actually had to back off and add in some rice and potatoes and stuff like that. I'm trying to stay away from beans, even though I made my own refried beans yesterday. I'm trying to stay away from that stuff, but I had to back up. The paranoia, I was like looking around like somebody coming after. It's crazy how bad my paranoia can get. So it's kind of, I don't drink caffeine. I've never liked coffee. But like if I've ever had it, that's the kind of paranoia that I get. Like, and so I've actually had to back off.
As a detox symptom, you mean? Like
Yeah.
that's one of the
Yeah, it's a
detox symptoms?
detox symptom. It was bad this week. Like I wasn't sleeping, so I'm backing off because I could tell it was just getting a little too deep. I think I got to get more of the weight off, and then I'm just going to go full force. Once watermelon season comes around, all games are off. Like it's going to be watermelons and bananas or something like that.
I think it's so important to transition smart. Exactly like what you said. It's important to love ourselves through the journey. It's not a straight line. And also, depending on where someone's coming from, it's just not realistic to just be like, hey, click your fingers and go raw, or even do a juice cleanse. I really have changed my philosophy around that, especially with Arnold Ehret's mucusless diet healing system that I've been studying recently, that
He's a
it's really
sugar
about
hater,
this.
right?
No, no,
No, I thought he was
no,
one of
no.
the
No, he's all
people.
about the fruit.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he's all about the fruit. But it's like, have the sweet potatoes, have the steamed broccoli, have the piece of bread, but it's like, let's start incorporating more of the mucusless foods. It's
Mm.
not about like going from A to Z right away, but it's like, how can we bring our body to this space and enjoy the journey? And it's about the long term as well.
Yeah,
Like you said,
got to be
sometimes if we go
sustainable.
too fast, then we go back and we go back to the meat, we go back to the junk food, because the mind almost has to kind of adapt with us. So absolutely, I think that's great. And I think as long as, most of the day could be raw, and then we could have, our foods that keep us grounded or keep us, um, you know, joyful until we're
Yeah.
ready to let them go. And there's alternatives too, maybe we could do like, a sprouted grains bread. We could start transitioning into that, or like instead of pasta, for example, like a gluten-free pasta,
Yeah.
or a brown rice instead of a white rice. So those are changes that don't necessarily cost too much more, and we can get our body more used to those frequencies as we
It's
go
funny
along.
you say that because I get a ton of inflammation from brown rice, but I don't get it from white.
Mm,
I can't do brown rice at all.
mhm,
It's crazy. I just cannot
mhm.
do it. I actually don't hate any food on this planet more than brown rice.
Well, then listen to your body then. It's okay. It's
I
okay.
understand what you're saying because it's got the whole and it's got the enzymes and it's got, the extra fiber and everything, but the inflammation is real with
Mhm.
I don't get inflammation with potatoes or rice, but I get it with beans and flour. Flour is really bad. That's why I try to stay away from the breads. I baked soda. We're Irish, so I baked a soda bread the other day. But I'm like, man, why did I do this again? I'm not.
Yeah,
I gotta, put put the brakes on that one.
it's okay. It's all good, It's all good.
Yeah,
Like, love yourself, don't be so hard on yourself. I find like when I've been hard on myself, for example, for relapsing, um, or like my last my last addiction that was the hardest to give up was marijuana. I was really, really struggling with that. And I was, I could stop for a few months and then I'd go back to it. Even as a raw vegan last
Really?
year, I was smoking pretty much all of the whole year. And I was working too for like a big raw vegan YouTuber, Shane Sterling. And I was super straight up in the group. I told him from the start when he hired me, I was like, I'm smoking a lot of weed, like, but I'm raw, I'm juicing, I'm doing all this, but I still smoke. And I was really being hard on myself and I mean, I'm not judging marijuana, right? Like for me, where I'm at right now, it just wasn't serving me. I smoked for years and years and it was beautiful medicine and it really helped me in a lot of ways to cope and deal. But where I needed to head, I had to let it go. And so, but I only got to let it go when I fully accepted that I was smoking, that I was still a smoker, that I had a hard time stopping. Like I knew logically that I could do it, that I could stop. And I had stopped for long times, periods of time. And then boom, there it is again. And here I am again, smoking every day. So from that place of love, I find my change has really come, just being like, guys, I don't need to hear it. I don't want to judge myself. I don't want any judgment. And if you do judge, then I'm not making it my own because I know my goal, like my goal is to not smoke. But right now, this is where I'm at,
Yeah.
and only from that place could I really let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't own anything otherwise, then you got to defend it.
Mm.
I find. So do you just do juices all day, or do you do just like juices and then like fruits and stuff?
It depends. It
Okay.
depends on where I'm at in my journey. I have been doing a lot of juice cleanses. So when I'm juice cleansing, I only strictly drink juice. So it's 4 to 6 to 8 liters like these. So sometimes when my first juice cleanse, I was drinking like 10 of these a day. So it was a lot of
Wow.
liquids, a lot of work too. However, I was determined to remove my mucoid plaque. I had
Yeah,
done other juice,
that's oh yeah.
but the mucoid plaque just grossed me out. And I was like, this needs to go. This just
Yeah.
needs to go. So I went 113 days on that one. That was 2 years ago almost. And then I started refeeding. So then I started with fruit, salads, and 99% of my diet was raw. The
Okay.
1% being the odd piece of cooked broccoli. And I just want to be honest with people. And we
Yeah.
saw you eating a piece of broccoli,
Yeah.
like that's the only thing that I would sometimes taste is a little piece of, cooked beets or something, but never like I never went back to the pastas or those cooked starches or cooked oils. And then like 6 months later, I felt kind of sluggish again. I felt kind of depressed. And I was like, man, probably eating too much nuts, too much dates, right? Because that's what often what happens when we go into the raw
I
foods. We
know.
go into like
Yeah,
the
I did the
denser,
same.
like give me the nuts, give me the desserts, give me the wraps, the dehydrated foods, right?
Yeah.
So as I've progressed, I'm really realizing that it's really about the watery fruit. You
Yep.
talk about watermelon, you talk about like, the leafy greens, the tomatoes, the cucumbers. But I'm still in my journey and still in my addiction. So I guess I was still trying to fill a void, a need with these foods. So I went to another juice cleanse. So over the last 3 years, I've done like, a couple extended juice cleanses. And now I'm only having juices again and liquids, just
Really?
liquids. And I don't know how long I'm going for. And I'm just like
Well,
going
that's
with the
good not to
flow.
plan it, because then you kind of get in that mentality of like, I got to do it for this amount of time. You
Yeah.
might be done, 2 days or 2 weeks prior, but you just keep going for no reason.
Yes. I think it depends on the goals, with the cleanse, like certain cleanses need to be a certain amount of time if you're doing more like for like physical reasons, but right now I'm doing it more for like manifestation reasons and activating my like spiritual, senses. And I mean, things have been happening like crazy. And I know this to be a fact. Like when we fast, whether water fast or juice fast, with my daughter, it's a little bit harder to water fast, but I probably would have water fasted. But being up and active and stuff, you really need to
Yeah.
rest more. So juice cleansing is a good option. And but like just look, this is one of the manifestations right here. Like I just literally called this into my life, called you into my life. I feel from being on this energetic,
Yeah. I
almost
believe it.
like high.
That's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, the reason I asked you that the reason we even started talking is I asked you about Puridyne. Do you know who they are?
Yes, Lou Corona's company.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because when I was doing mostly juices, I I had to do enzymes in fiber and stuff like that. Otherwise, things weren't coming out. So
Yeah.
that's actually why I asked you, because I'm curious, because some people juice fast and they don't do any of that, and I'm like, man, I don't know how that even, I don't know how they do it.
No, I recommend enzymes as well during a juice cleanse. I definitely recommend enzymes, and the protocol that I recommend and follow as well is with bentonite clay and psyllium husk even.
Yeah,
So 2 weeks into the fast, we do a little bit, like just a little teaspoon, and then you kind of increment it up to remove the mucoid plaque. So this acts as like a broom. The stomach, yeah, we need some help down there.
yeah,
The hydrochloric acid isn't so strong often in our stomach. We have like paralysis in there. So we really do need to massage it too. Like I was digging into my stomach. I was like pushing into there. I was like, oh, I could feel it. It was like stuck. So I definitely encourage to aid the detox. And that's
yeah,
one of the things that rebounding helps too with releasing. But definitely enzymes are super important for a juice cleanse. I really recommend them. And after too, in the refeeding, I
yeah,
take enzymes every day. I work with Purium, but I have heard amazing things about Puridyme, and I might, just try it out as well.
yeah. I
Do you work with them? Do you
They
represent?
sent me the application and I keep forgetting to fill it out. It's like
Yeah, do
8,000
it.
pages long. I gotta
Oh,
get it
really?
filled out. It's probably not. I just, when I see more than like 2 pages, I'm like, oh man, I don't know what it is. I think because I was a banker for so long, every time I see paperwork, I have flashbacks of all the paperwork I used to need to do. I don't know. I don't know. It's one of these weird hangups. But yeah, so he's a good guy. I actually talked with him on the phone after I had my surgery, and he helped me out with what I should be taking during the
Oh,
surgeries.
wow. Yeah, he's cool. He's awesome. Good. I love these natural products, and they're all organic too. It's important if anybody wants to do superfoods or enzymes, like it's really important to make sure that they are organic and raw.
Yeah, and I think it's cool that they actually pray over everything every day, every morning. That they start off with like a group prayer and then they start working.
Oh, I didn't know that. I
Yeah,
love that.
that's kind of neat. I think I don't know. I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Everything is vibration.
yeah.
Everything is energy. I prayed before coming on here.
Did you? So did I actually. I like to do breath meditation and then prayer and stuff like that.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's been super helpful too.
yeah, yeah.
That's
Breath definitely helps quite a bit. I mean, there's other things other than food. You can't always. It can't just be food.
100%. I couldn't agree more. There's so much to detox. We got to detox like people out of our lives. We got to detox the music maybe we're listening to,
Oh
the
yeah.
movies we're watching, the
I don't want to go
clothes we're
down that path,
wearing.
but yeah, that I mean, some of the stuff. I mean, maybe one day when we can not get censored, but there's some music stuff. Whoo, some of the stuff they did to their albums and stuff. It's pretty gnarly stuff.
Yeah. No, I know yeah, it's pretty bad. We really have to, the moment we become aware, there's just like it's layer upon layer of
Yeah.
different programmings and spells that we've been under. And to get closer to God, we really have to let go of all of those things, and we really have to like recognize how the devil works,
Yeah.
and how like the enemy works to infiltrate our minds, the minds of young girls. Like I feel like I was literally under a spell, my whole life, like feeling ugly, feeling fat, feeling just hairy, smelly, like you name it. I was obsessed. I was carrying around I don't wear deodorant anymore, but I was carrying around my deodorant with me. I had my little Purell because I was germy. I was like really yeah, I mean, my days were spent obsessing over food, what I would eat, what I would purge, laxatives, all this stuff. And no matter how skinny I got, I never felt beautiful. So I knew that it was like a deep rooted self-hatred. Of course, it's not just society, right? There's so many factors. But
Well,
to
you
love
have to accept
myself,
it as well. Like somebody could
yeah.
say something to you, but if you don't, it's kind of like if you give somebody a gift and they don't accept it, who's stuck with it? You know what I mean? So if somebody's making insults towards you, and you're just like whatever, and you don't accept it or you don't even like say anything, they're stuck with what they're saying to you.
Mm.
I've noticed,
So,
this is why, like on the comments, because I'll get comments once in a while that are just like way out of left field, and I just don't even respond. So they're stuck with their comment. I have no issue. It's not mine.
I'm learning. I'm a hypersensitive, and I kind of did absorb everything. I kind of believed whether somebody told me something positive or negative, I made it my own, because it came from somebody else. And then I started realizing being on the raw foods has really helped me love myself
Mm,
and tune out the noise. It's just helped me tune to God, and everything else is just distraction. Everything that's not aligned, everything that's coming to distract me, I could see it now very clearly, and if somebody comes on my path to create chaos and destruction, like they get the boot quick.
oh yeah.
They do not stay long. I might, like, I have a big open heart. I give chances to people. I You know what I mean? But like, like if you mess with my family, if you mess with me, like I am nice until I am not. And I
Yeah.
don't play with my energy and with my mission, because people come to destroy our mission too. So yeah.
I'm the opposite, honestly. I keep everybody at a distance pretty for a very long time.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know why that is. The only thing that I can think is I think I was to 35 or 40 funerals by the time I was 10.
Oh.
So I'm like, well, they're just going to die anyway, so there's no point in really getting close to these people. But, you have to understand that, it's not as much this anymore, but back in the day, the Irish used to breed like crazy. So if you breed like crazy, you're going to die like crazy. So I was always going to the funerals, and it wasn't like terribly, well, some of them were in their teens, but by and large, it was, people in their 80s, 90s, hundreds. Um, but at the same time, these are the people that were over the house the most. So I was like, I mean, what's the point in like, getting too close to somebody when they're going to be in the casket in a few years anyway? So it's just, I think that I have that mentality going into things.
Mm. Definitely some, yeah, abandonment issues for sure, like not wanting to get close, like out of fear of, losing them. And at the end of the day, you're not wrong. Like we
Yeah.
do end up losing a lot of people. However, I think we can still choose to make the most out of, the time that we do have together. And not to the same extent as what you've been through, but we moved around a lot as a child. So I guess I did have a hard time too, because like each time I would make some friends and we would move, and we'd have to, so definitely a lot of abandonment issues too, where I didn't feel it roots. I didn't feel like, I didn't have that feeling of like a neighborhood that I grew up in and stayed in for my whole childhood. So I definitely had a hard time maybe, trusting. Like I was very friendly, but like when it comes to truly trusting, but now I'm like, I don't know, I kind of see I don't have to be too attached, like I could
Yeah.
love deeply, but I don't have to, like if they go, okay,
Yeah.
like I'm in full acceptance
Yeah.
of it, and it won't maybe stop me from getting close to them. Like I'm not afraid anymore of losing people, if that makes any sense, so I'm not letting my fear of losing them stop me from, having a deep, meaningful relationship. I'm working on it,
Yeah.
but I saw that too in my life, that, or I would leave them before they could leave me. That was like typical in my male relationships. I would like cheat on them or do something to sabotage the relationship whenever I would get close enough. So I guess it is kind of those patterns of self-sabotage
Yeah.
where I couldn't get hurt. So I had to, leave them before they could leave me.
I do the same thing with like uh business, making money. I've
Mm.
had some really successful businesses and then I self-sabotage and it implodes. So I do the same thing with that. That's why I want to go deeper. I got to figure out why this happens. I want to get the weight is kind of a concern right now because I don't want to be any heavier than I already am. So I'm getting that off with just vegan. But like once I see that I'm at a good weight, I am going deep this time. Like I went deep last time, but apparently it wasn't deep enough because I came out of it. So I want to just, I mean, I'm going for it.
Good. Well,
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
here if you need any support. I
yeah,
love that we know each other. We got each other's back.
yeah,
That's what friendships are all about. We're meeting each other from all over the world. It's
yeah.
pretty awesome that we are connecting during these times. And we do need a community. So, yeah, welcome to our community too. I have an online support community on
Oh, do you?
Facebook.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I welcome you, and anybody who's watching would like to join, because you bring up an important point that a lot of us, um, one of the things that I think help us to go deep and stay deep is like a support system, is
Yeah.
having friends that are doing this and building those relationships too that perhaps we have been scared of building in the past. So I really feel like there's a connection between our addictions, um, our habits, and also intimacy issues, with ourselves and
Mm-hmm.
also with other people. So like part of my healing has really been to lean into others, lean into a community, lean into having a coach, a mentor, that kind of thing, where I'm not left to myself. I was like, if I leave to myself, like I'm just gonna go self-destruct. Like I'm dangerous to myself. I'm a danger. So at the time, like now I could be by myself, but until that like God voice in me could take over, it's like I had this evil kind of energy that just wanted to sabotage, like you say. Me too, in business. Oh my gosh, like I've had a lot of failures in my life too,
Yeah.
a lot of successes, but like a lot of failures.
Yeah.
um
I finally found a home with this YouTube thing. I'm running with this.
it's amazing. You're doing a really great job, and talking about different topics.
Yeah.
You're kind, you have a good spirit,
Yeah.
you like to help people. And I
Yeah,
think
that's why I'm doing it. I've been
at the end of
studying this stuff for over 2 decades now. I figured I may as well, like, this is the only thing that's consistent in my life. This is the only thing that I care about. Like, I originally did it so I could squat more and deadlift more, and like I was huge. Like my weightlifting was my life. It was all I thought about at work. It was all as all I'd read about. But because of that, and because of the Krebs cycle and the sugar intake and all that kind of stuff, I had a basic idea of where you need to be to lift the most amount of weight without being on steroids. Because I hate needles, so I wasn't doing steroids. That's probably the only reason I didn't do it. So yeah, I'm taking all this knowledge that I've had over the years, and this is where we're at.
Well, that's amazing. That's how your passion. That's how
Yeah,
where to flow, because if you really love something, everything will come from that. That's really the blessing. Everybody has different gifts, and you have a gift with this and you love it. The
yeah,
abundance has to match that vibration. There's
it,
no
it
other
is. Yeah,
choice. And whether it takes a short amount of time or a long amount of time, it doesn't matter. You're going to get there, and you're spreading goodwill. You're helping a lot of people.
yeah,
You're giving the platform to a lot of us to express ourselves, to share.
yeah,
So it's all good, and everything will flow from that place of joy, from that place of um yeah, just happiness, and doing what feels good, like a child, right? Like we're children really at the end of the day. Like we've just made up these constructs. I can't even imagine you working in a bank, like how
I hated it.
terrible that must have been.
I was good at it because I can read people,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm not to toot my own horn, but like my district, in my district, I raised my bank 1,700% business in the first quarter that I was there. But then they got tired of paying me commission, is what happened. So then they're like, we need you to go down to the southern tip of Delaware and take over the Epic. And I'm like, fine. But they're like, we're not moving you. I'm like, what? So they called it job abandonment,
Hmm.
and they got rid of me.
Hmm.
So that was shortly after that I started the journey of the vegan. I'm like, this lifestyle, because I was actually drinking at work. I had never drank before in my life. I hadn't even had one drop of alcohol my entire life until I was 30. And I was so miserable at this job. Yeah, the money was coming in, but I was so miserable that I had a cooler because it was kind of far. Well, everything's far in Philly. Have you ever been to Philly?
No.
All right, you can see where you want to go, but it's going to take you 2 hours to get there because of the traffic and the roads and everything. So it took me forever to get to this place. So I was bringing a cooler, and originally I was bringing my good keto diet with me, and that keto diet turned into alcohol. I was drinking for lunch, breakfast, and dinner. And then they fired me for job abandonment, and I stopped drinking that day, and I haven't had alcohol since.
Whoa. That's that's incredible. It
Yeah.
goes to show, like, see, like the happiness and like the addiction. Like, if you're not happy, you're gonna go towards those addictions. If
Yeah.
you're happy, then that's not so simple as that. Not everybody can quit cold turkey, but it goes to show how the level of stress too and not feeling good where you were
Yeah, it's
was making
crazy.
you think.
The cold
Yeah.
turkey thing runs in the family, honestly. My dad used to smoke like 7 packs a day. My mom used to smoke like 5 packs a day, and they both just quit one day and just stopped, and that was it. And they never smoked again.
Hmm.
So that's just it's kind of like you're either in or you're not kind of thing in my family. You're either doing it or you're not. There's like no like gray area.
Hmm. Well, I do cold turkey and then I go back a few months later. I'm like, oh, here we are again. And then
Yeah.
I quit again, but me too, it's cold turkey. I
Any,
wanted to ask you though.
Anybody who
Sorry?
watches my channel knows that the only thing that I can't cold turkey is vegan muffins, literally. And that's actually what got me fat again. Do you have Trader Joe's up in Canada?
No.
Trader Joe's has the best potato chips on the planet. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not listening to anything from anybody else. These are the best potato chips on the planet. And I got addicted to them. I'm like, I was going through a bag a day, and I'm like, why am I getting so fat? And I'm like, oh, so I had to cold turkey it. So I don't even go to Trader Joe's anymore, really, even though the produce there is so cheap and so good quality. So when I do go, I just go to the produce section and I leave
Wow.
because those chips are looking at me. It's like I can't do. They're the best chips. I don't know what they put in those things, but it's just anyway. So
That's
that's
evil. That's
yeah,
evil, man. They're playing with us.
I know. So yeah, so that's the two things. Because otherwise, I think when I got back to Cleveland here, I was like 230, 225 somewhere in there. Like I can't even fit in the clothes that I was wearing when I came back, kind of thing. And it didn't take long. I mean, you finish off a normal sized bag of potato chips and some muffins every day. It doesn't take long.
Yeah.
And the vibrational level is terrible afterwards.
Mhm. That's the thing, though. You have a great awareness around what's going on. And I think that's the first step and the most important step is just being aware and feeling it in our body. So we know the difference too. Once we start to cleanse, if you've done, a few days or a few weeks on fruit and then you go back to a muffin,
Oh,
you're going to feel it.
yeah.
You're going to feel it. But we don't always feel it like as we're in it.
Yeah.
Like I never knew how cheese affected me, for example, until I stopped eating it for 6 months and decided to have some again to try it out. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what it feels like. I can't go to the bathroom. I'm constipated. Boom, that's it. So then those lessons, those messages are truly what brings us to our full change. It doesn't matter what anybody says. It doesn't matter what teacher or like you have to feel it in your
You have to.
body and make the decision. Do I want to continue to suffer at the end of the day? And then that brings us to being addicted to our pain, because I do believe that
Oh yeah.
some of us are addicted to feeling like shit, So I
Well,
was
because then you can
addicted to
defend
feeling
it
like shit.
and you can tell other people about it. Like, oh, poor me. Here I am. I do it too with financial stuff lately because I'm used to not having to deal with this. But yeah, we all do it.
So it comes down to self-confidence. It comes down to self-love. It comes
Yeah.
down to love and what we are ready to welcome into our life. Do I give myself permission to be this expanded version of myself? Do I give myself permission to earn an income doing what I love? Do I give myself permission to be sexy, be beautiful, be confident, share my journey, like all those things people are maybe a little bit uncomfortable with because they themselves are in their own shadows and they themselves are kind of not like unconsciously keeping us small, keeping us from shining our full light because we feel like, who am I? I don't know if you know the poem from Marianne Williamson, who am I to be, glorious, beautiful, successful.
Yes.
I don't know exactly. I
Yeah.
read it a long time ago,
Yeah.
but then she goes like, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. You're meant to manifest his glory
Yep.
here on earth. You're meant to manifest his beauty through you. So
You're
that's
just a
really where I
channel.
had a shift.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're just a channel. And that's why I want to go deeper this year. This is the year I am going, I want to radiate. You know, like roses vibrate at 320 megahertz. Like I want to go above like the rose level. You know what I mean? Like they say Jesus vibrated at 1,000. I don't know that I'm going to hit 1,000, but they even say Gandhi got to 900, and Buddha was somewhere in the like 600-700 range. But I don't know how I don't know if somebody went back in the past and tested these people. I don't know how they come up with these numbers.
Know that, yeah.
But yeah, like, well, at least we know that the rose is 320, and that's that. I want to get to like the rose level.
I think you're already there. I think you don't need to be anywhere else. You are it. You are
gut,
there.
Yeah, but the gut is telling me like, dude, we gotta get back on this, because you mentioned dairy a lot, and anybody who's watching this, I want you to know that I lost 50 pounds in the month that I gave up dairy. 50 pounds in 1 month. The stuff that was coming out of me, I'm not going to go into detail. I'm not even going to talk about it. It was insane. It was crazy.
Yeah, dairy is gnarly. Dairy's gnarly. It's like so mucus forming, so constricting, and when we detox from that, there is a big release that happens. Our body thanks us. Breast cancer, ovarian cysts, like even if someone's not really fully ready to let go of the meat, I would say, okay, have a little bit portion of meat, but like get the dairy out before anything else, honestly, because and then like those cows are just injected with so much antibiotics, so much medication, like you're ingesting all of that, and there's no question why everything is going on right now. People's immune systems are really down because of those animal products that we're consuming, that so we really have to dig deep and see that we can develop our own natural immunity just by taking things out. It's not about what we can put in, like pills or injections or whatever. It's like, what can you take out so that you let your body do its thing. Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. And then the thing that irritates me the most, and I've actually gone to these places and said something and I got kicked out, but if you go to these cancer funding foundation fundraiser things, they're selling you dairy, like with the brownies and the cookies. I said, you realize you're killing the people that you're trying to help, and they kick me out because they don't want to hear it. It's just, I've been kicked out of so many of those things. It's not even funny. But hopefully somebody heard the message and like was like, oh, this is probably true, and then they left too. But it's crazy, some of the stuff, and you're right about, I'm not advocating for meat at all, but if you look at like the Chinese or the Japanese or most of the Asians who have like maybe 3 ounces of meat a week and don't have any disease whatsoever, unless they eat the Western diet, but they don't do dairy at all, like they don't touch it. So, and these people have no health problems whatsoever. They just die of old age, or like they get like an infection that they can't get rid of if they're like in way rural Japan or China or something like that, and they can't get to a doctor in time. But by and large, they have no disease whatsoever.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
They're giving their body the chance to detox that meat, like if it is just a little bit a week, it's going to clear out. But if it's like compounded, morning, afternoon, like sandwich, and then you have dinner with another piece of meat, then the body cannot eliminate. But if you're having like a mostly plant-based diet, I know a lot of people that do this, on the weekends, they'll have a little bit of meat and they're flexitarians, they'll be mostly plant-based. Your body's going to eliminate it. And I know a lot of really healthy people that do that. So yeah, definitely I've softened up my kind of stance on everything, like if you're going to do it, use meat as medicine, have a little bit just to satisfy those parasites. You know what I'm saying?
That's another word you can't say anymore. Parasites. I don't know. Like, it's crazy how much they're trying to block this stuff from getting out there to actually heal yourself. It's crazy. But parasites are huge. I mean, parasites are in everything. And when you see them coming out, you don't want them going back in.
It's everything. And I mean, but once we have an understanding of it too, it's like, we know that we're not truly hungry for that thing. We know we're not truly hungry for that piece of meat. We literally have parasites inside that are just like craving it.
Yeah.
And then, then you get to the root cause. Well, how do I get these buggers out?
Yeah. Have you ever tried Wormwood?
Yep. I've worked with Wormwood.
Yeah. That one really clears you out. You got to watch though. You can't go too heavy on that too quick because
Yeah.
the mental issues, at least for me, were really bad if I went too quick with it.
Yeah, those herbs are powerful. Like marshmallow root too is a good one for parasites.
Yeah.
Cascara sagrada, senna leaf, like whew, like you're gonna get some purges. But
Yeah.
yeah, we gotta go in stages. So yeah, we gotta be gentle. Papaya seeds too are really good if you grind up the papaya seeds
I
in
don't like
a
papaya at all.
smoothie.
It's like one of those fruits. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to like rain on your parade here. Maybe I'll try the seeds, but
They're
it
worse.
just
They don't taste very good.
well, it's just like I don't know, maybe because you were in Belize, you probably got really good papaya there. Like
I was gonna
here,
say because you never had a fresh one from a tree in the
yeah,
grocery stores. They're not so good.
no, they're
They have
not
to be
good.
ripe and yeah.
Yeah, there was a. I'm sure he's still there, and I can't even remember his name because I stopped ordering because it just was getting too costly. But there's a guy in California that grows all this stuff biologically, which is really expensive to do. So that's why his stuff is expensive. And I was ordering his stuff, like big boxes of his stuff all the time when I was at the bank, or actually even the post office. And man, was that good. That's actually the only papayas that I had that were like right on. The rest of them, even if you get ripe ones from the store, I was like, there's nothing to it. Tastes like
I agree.
nothing.
I agree. I agree. Even the mangoes, I mean, they're okay in the stores, but once you get to pick them right from the tree, it's another game. And they're so much more nourishing
I
too. You
know.
actually feel more full from a fruit that comes from the tree. So that's what I'm dreaming of is, returning back to Belize and growing all my own fruits and veggies and stop complaining about, the quality of the fruit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all right in Canada. It's good. We're blessed. We're blessed that we can even have access to pineapples and mangoes.
Yeah.
But once you've tasted the real deal, like my whole energy is just going towards how can I make that happen and just live in fruit
Yeah.
abundance all year round and not have to pay for it and not have to like carry big bags every time. It just feels kind of crazy to me that especially as becoming almost fruitarian now, it's like I eat a lot of fruit. I
Yeah.
consume a lot of fruit and it's expensive and it's like not the highest grade quality. So I think getting with some other maybe growers too, if you can't go to the tropics, like get together with some organic growers like you said, or support them too, because the more people support them, the less expensive it's going to be, the more growers there's going to be a bigger demand. So I don't know, it's a hard one, but
Yeah, like I told you that's one of my goals is I want to have a fruit farm down in like tropical area that only hires homeless people because they can live there. So
yeah.
I can actually pay them because it's ridiculous. You can't pay a homeless person if they don't have an address. So they'll have an address. I'm just going to have like, buildings there that they can live in, and it'll be just like, work for food or, maybe I'll be able to pay them, or I don't know how it's going to work exactly, but I want to have a fruit farm doing that at some point. Because mangoes and bananas are like the best things on the planet.
Yes.
I'm still jaded about the papaya, so I don't know. That one might not happen. But like,
We don't have to talk about papaya.
and my life goal, I know it sounds crazy, is to grow a Charleston watermelon. They get 250 pounds.
Whoa.
I want to grow one of those things so bad.
Not
So,
crazy.
yeah.
That's not crazy.
I
It's a
just
great
want to.
dream.
I just want to deadlift it too, and then like put it on a table and just go to see if I can eat most of it. But it's just yeah, some of these goals, yeah,
I'll come help you.
yeah.
I'll have
See,
a watermelon party.
yeah, that's because that's what I'm gonna do this summer. It's gonna be because I'll what I do is I eat the watermelon until it doesn't taste good anymore, and then I cut it up and I juice the rest.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's some of the most detoxing fruits ever. I did 10 days on watermelon and coconut water when I was in Belize, and
Wow.
whoo, that was intense. That was
It is
good.
intense.
I felt good, but it felt like it was hard. It was hard. Emotionally hard too. I was dealing with a lot of emotional detox. I was crying a lot. But it was good. It was very healing.
Speaking of crying, do you know who Doreen Ryder is? He's one of the like originals to the field. Do you know who he is?
A little bit, yeah.
Doreen Ryder. Yeah. So he lives down in Australia, and he rides bike a lot. And one day he was riding, and he passed this vacant, rundown mango farm, and all the mangoes on there were ripe. And he said he was eating these things and crying because of how good they were. And he said that if it wasn't a 10 out of a 10, he would just throw it and let the animals eat it, and he would go get another one. He said these things were so good. And he said that he found like things to pack on his bike, and he like took like hundreds of these things with him. He didn't care how slow he was riding. I'm like, man, that sounds like a dream. And it was the yellow ones too, because I don't really like the red ones as much as the yellow ones. The yellow ones are so good.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. That would have cried too if I found a mango field.
Yeah,
I've cried over them. I've cried with mangoes too. Like that's for real, like just holding it in your hand and you just feel like,
the
wow, what a
vibration.
blessing, It's
Yeah,
so such a blessing and so wonderful that trees could produce these fruit. Like how, and you see how heavy they are. Some of them are big. There's so many different kinds of mangoes, but like in Belize, they get the big ones, and like you see the branch that's got like 20 of them. Like, how is it even staying up there? Like, how is it even holding these? Like,
yeah. I mean, look at
unbelievable.
the power of the tree, and that's what you're getting. I mean, look how strong these trees are, and
Exactly.
this is what you're eating. And everybody's like, well, you're hurting the tree. I'm like, the thing drops the fruit. I mean, what are you
Oh my
talking about?
God.
It's like you cut, like you lose hair. Did you feel it? I mean, it doesn't, drives me
No.
nuts. And I know Life Regenerator. Do you know who he is?
Yes, yes.
He was living in, I haven't talked to him in a while. He was living in Hawaii, and he told me that some of the avocados there were like the size of his head. And I'm not into fat, because once I start eating fat, it screws up my system. But I would be willing to try an avocado that was like the size of your head. I mean, like, what does that got to taste like?
Wow. Yeah. Oh my gosh, me too. I'm the same. Once I start, I have a hard time. But then like the fats, they do affect us, right?
Yeah, they do.
And then with the fat comes the salt, like that's my thing is like when I'm gonna have some fat, then I'm gonna have like the salt and a lot of salt, and often it just yeah, it creates a little bit of havoc. But I do still have some fats when I do eat. I'll have some hemp seeds mostly, and I try
Yeah.
to go like towards the avocados if I'm gonna have, but then I won't have like two avocados. I might have one or half of one or something like that. But then it's like, how do you limit yourself? Because it's so good, But at the
Yeah.
beginning, when I went raw vegan, I just thought I didn't really know about the fat. So I was having like a bowl of fats, like a bowl
Yeah.
of
I did the same
avocados.
thing.
I would just eat it and like, guacamole. But then I put on a bunch of weight and I was like, why is this not working? Why is this raw vegan not working?
Yeah, I'm
But I
glad you
was
said
eating
that.
way too much
Yeah.
fat.
Yeah, a lot of people come at me like, it's not working. I'm like, you're probably eating too much fat. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
legitimately, you really can't eat much more than 10 grams of fat a day. Otherwise, it's not going to come off. Because, you start getting into the Randall cycle, and the receptor sites can't take the carbohydrates in, and then the insulin just keeps going. And so it's just the reality. But, I say that, but then at the same time, maybe it was because I was 405 pounds, but I was eating like a couple avocados a day, and the weight was falling off. But I think it was just because I was eating a healthy diet and not drinking and doing keto.
Yes. Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like, for most people, it's better to have two avocados by far than having other foods, like fried foods or anything like that. Like the weight is gonna come off. However, like once you've transitioned completely to fully raw, it's best to stick to low fat, in my
Yeah,
opinion anyway. But
that's my
everybody
opinion.
has their own experience. But I feel like the gourmet raw should be like an exception and not an everyday
Yeah,
thing.
like a holiday type thing. You can't
Yeah.
have it every day, otherwise you're just gonna keep gaining weight. And
Yeah.
if you do have fats, you got to have them completely separate from carbohydrates, because they just don't mix well at all. I think
Mm,
everybody who's done that knows that it just doesn't mix well.
yeah, definitely.
All right.